of you when you see this picture. In this picture, there is a woman and man standing in front of stairs. But we can see that the stairs in front of a woman is much higher than the stairs in front of a man. What do you think this picture symbolizes? Now take a look at the second picture. The left sign represents woman and the right sign represents man. This picture shows us that the sign of a woman is much lighter than the sign of a man. This means that woman's social impact is far smaller when compared to man. Now some of you guys have expected. The topic of today's speech is sexism, a highly controversial topic in modern society. So now, let's get started. Before we start, let's define sexism. Sexism, also referred to gender discrimination, is a prejudice or discrimination based on a person's sex. And sexism comes out from a mindset that one sex is superior than the other. Typically, women are the targets of sexism, so today in this speech, I would focus on discrimination against women. If you look at these pictures, you can see that sexism has existed from ancient times. In most of ancient societies, the roles of women were restricted and limited in only domestic duties. Sexism also existed in 19th to 20th century. In the 19th century, women were denied the right to vote and were only considered as servants of their husbands. Even some progress was made, even in the 20th century. Women were considered as servants of their husbands and could not own their own property. And only in 4 states in the US they were allowed to vote. Fortunately, thanks to lots of protests and sacrifices of people, many changes were made. For example, if you look at an advertisement of Budweiser, we can see that the huge change was made from 1962 to 2019. Even though it changed a lot, sexism against women remains for a significant issue nowadays. So I'd like to go through what is happening in the modern society. First, I want to talk about gender pay gap. If you look at this chart, blue is for men and red is for women. We can see that men earn as twice as much money in average when compared to women. And the reason for this is not because women work less and is incompetent. This is a result of sexism. Next is employment population. If you look at this graph, the difference from employment population between women and men are alarming. And this is one major reason for declining birth rate in South Korea. Third, I want to highlight misogyny. If you search the dictionary, misogyny is great hatred against women. Misogyny is becoming a severe social problem in modern society. Crimes rooted in misogyny are increasing, and misogynistic comments are easy to find online. Here's one example, and I will read it to it. A woman has 3 basic responsibilities in a relationship. Love her man, respect her man, and support her man. The fact that so many women fail to carry out these basic responsibilities only proves that many women enter relationships with alternative motives. This comment is clearly a comment that includes misogyny and sexism. Crimes from misogyny, including murder, are a tragic reality. For instance, in May 17, 2016, one woman was murdered in a bathroom in Gangnam Station in South Korea. The attacker said he was motivated by women who disrespected him. This is one example of how misogyny can lead to horrific outcomes. Now this is the end of my presentation, and to wrap up, I prepared some quiz. If you have no questions, let's move on to the next slide. First question, what is sexism? Okay, then I would explain what sexism is again. Like, sexism is a prejudice and discrimination based on what sex of a person, and most women are the target of sexism. Now, who can answer it again? Oh.
Discrimination and prejudice based on the sex.
Yeah. Okay, good job.
Thank you.
Second question, what is one example of sexism these days? Okay.
A gap in employment rates.
Yeah. The answer is gender pay gap, employment population, and misogyny. There are lots of works to fight sexism nowadays, but still at this very moment it is existing. We should always remember that all sexes are equal and should be treated the same way. Thank you for listening.